JF Stretford, Paddock, Brentford 1, Manchester United 3. This is the live review. That's Joe Smith. And I don't know, Joe, sum up how you're feeling. Are you giddy, excited, relieved, ecstatic, all of the above?
I wouldn't say I'm ecstatic. I'm a mixture of those initial three things.
You're not ecstatic? How many times in your lifetime have you seen us beat Brentford?
I don't know if I ever have.
Well, there you go then.
But it was a weird performance, wasn't it? It was like it was the inverse of the Villa performance.
Yes.
Where first half against Villa, not bad.
Yeah.
Creating chances, should have scored more goals. It was 1-0 at half time. This game, first half, terrible. Like it was in the second half against Villa.
Disgusting.
I think they had 6 shots on target. We had none. They should have got at least 1 goal, probably 2.
Yeah.
If they'd scored 3, you couldn't have been too disappointed.
Yeah.
Again, luckily they scored none. And then second half, I thought we controlled the game much better. We actually made chances, proper chances, through on goal. Bruno and Greenwood running through on their goal for the second one. It was actually pretty good. But this thing of looking amateurish in the first half, we can't put, 2 halves of football together. We can't keep a clean sheet regardless of how good we are, which again, it proved to be the case, conceding the late goal, which weirdly, even though we were still 3-1 up, turned all of our players into terrified children. Like, we just started booting the ball as far as we could every time it came near us. No composure whatsoever, even though we still had a 2-goal cushion. It was a very strange game and a continuation of strange and unreliable and unpredictable performances from this team under this manager. Obviously, I'm happy that we won, but I feel like we're just getting more questions and not many more answers every time United play at the minute. What did you think?
No, I agree. Yeah, like you say, it just feels like, yes, there's positives, and like there is a positive there. Just as in like against Villa, there was positives.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like you can't say there wasn't, but you've always got that little bit of a worry for me, especially the one thing that I've got in the sort of back of my mind was the fact that these are the easy games. And that I don't want to be negative because it's a good result, and especially in that second half, a good performance. But I just want us to sort of, I'm hoping we can build on it and kick on before we start getting to the sort of the Atletico Madrids and the Manchester Cities and the Scousers and all those games we've got coming up. So there's lots to be sort of positive, but you have to be sort of realistic as well because there's still a little bit of a flaw there defensively. First half, David De Gea kept us in it a little bit, and even the last 10 minutes there, very nervy. Now I expect Brentford to come out as they're at home, in front of a packed out stadium. They're chasing the game. They've got nothing to lose, but even so, we're still sort of hoofing it all
for a
the time.
2-goal advantage as well. It wasn't as though we were hanging on for a win.
Yeah.
Obviously if they get another goal, it becomes risky. But we were playing as though, it's the FA Cup final and we're 1-0 up.
Yeah,
in those last 10 minutes.
It was very backs to the wall. There's loads of people involved in the comment super chat. We'll get to them. Give us a like as well. I'll get into some of them now. Simon Kelly, 1 Englishman in the lineup, had more balance.
Yeah, there you go.
The
sooner we get that to 0, the better we'll play.
That's what we want. Brexit doesn't mean Brexit.
No.
Danny Shields says, Bruno didn't give Maguire the armband when he came on. Think there's anything in that? No, I don't at all.
I would potentially if Rangnick hadn't just said that Maguire was keeping the armband about 10 days ago.
Oh, right, okay. It didn't bother me. I didn't barely notice it until it was pointed out to me. Rishaf Mahansi says, Maguire ball watching again for that corner goal, shakes head. Occupied midway space, not close enough to man, too close to teammate. I mean,
I honestly think every goal that goes in when Maguire's on the pitch, he gets blamed for.
I didn't at the time blame Maguire, so it'd be wrong of me to
He blocked the ball.
Yeah,
he blocked it. Unfortunately, it went across him and went to their player, who it then bounced off and went to another Brentford player. I get it. He's been shit this season. He doesn't inspire confidence. He's poor on the ball. He gives the ball, etc. But we don't need to blame every single goal that goes in when he's playing on him. Like, I didn't see every goal that went in the other day against Villa being blamed on Varane and Lindelof just because they happened to be there. I think that's really harsh. He's been shit. There are valid criticisms, but just every time a goal goes in, it must be Maguire's fault because he's shit, isn't he? Look how shit he is. I think we can be a bit more critical and a bit more honest than that.
KCV Music says, why was Ronaldo whining? Rash, you needed it on the Ronaldo thing. Are you bothered? Are you worried? Did you think anything? It was anyone didn't see it. I'm sure you all did. Ronaldo, sorry. The Ronaldo thing. Ronaldo kicks off when he got subbed.
Yeah.
But clearly, there was no sort of, was he unhappy with the fact he'd been subbed? He clearly was because he said, why'd you take me off? You didn't cover his mouth like a lot of players did. He said it. Does that bother you?
I think it's one of those things where, you can explain it away if you want to, and you can be offended by it if you want to. Because on the one hand, it's Cristiano Ronaldo.
Yeah.
He's got the highest of standards of himself, of his teammates, of everyone. He wants to win, he wants to score, etc., etc., etc. He's used to playing every single week. I get it. But on the other hand, he knows that the press at the moment are out for United.
Yeah.
He knows that they will do anything they can to undermine what was in the end, scoreline-wise, if nothing else, a relatively comfortable victory.
Yeah.
He knows that he's taking the headlines and putting more pressure on the manager, more pressure on the team by having these outbursts. I think he could be more sensible than that.
Yeah.
And I know Cristiano Ronaldo got to where he is today. He's got the 700 plus goals, nearly 800 goals, by being the most competitive, the most harsh, the highest work rate, whatever. But at the same time, you need to be a bit more political occasionally and think, I've come off, we're 2-0 up. We've got 3 games in 8 days, and we're in the middle of that run. I've just come back from injury. Maybe it's okay for me to not score today.
Yeah.
The team needs to win. More than anything, this team needs confidence. Let the headlines be Manchester United have won rather than Ronaldo fumes at Rangnick. Is it the end for both Rangnick and Ronaldo at United, which we will see in the next few days. So I get it on one hand, but on the other hand, I wish he hadn't done it.
Yeah, no, that makes
Even though I don't think it's serious in and of itself, it'll be blown up out of all proportion. What do you reckon?
No, it will, and I'm kind of immune to this sort of stuff, Ronnie. We were talking
Yeah.
on the watch long. I remember he did it in 2009. I think he kicked off when he got subbed at the end of the season because he obviously was chasing the golden boot, and he just doesn't like getting subbed. He always wants a goal and to get into the game. But I think for the greater good, it made sense. I mean, and also it was proven to be right because we got like another goal, didn't we? When
Rashford came on and
scored. And also, Marcus Rashford needs a goal more than Cristiano Ronaldo does. Yeah. Even if that is a swap, because you don't know the situation. If Ronaldo stays on, you don't know whether he'd have scored or not because it wouldn't have been the exact same sort of situation, would it? So I think it's a bit of a storm in the teacup, and obviously it's just it's something else that Rangnick has to address.
That's what
he
I mean.
probably
That's,
do without.
Yeah,
so that's the only sad thing because he's dealt with the Martial thing. He's had the Martial incident. You can argue about how he's dealt with it. He's dealt with the Pogba thing. I think he's dealt with that quite well. And then he's got the Ronaldo thing to deal with. It's one thing after another. Zachary Purvis would love to see a proper DM. However, I think McTominay in the 8 role next to Bruno will be class. However, Pogba in that role next to Bruno is scary. What did you make of our midfield today? Because McTominay was a contender, was he, for man of the match?
Second half, McTominay was very good, and he's got something that Fred doesn't have, and I think he's got levels to go to that Fred can't go to. So this whole thing of him, I said it in the video about him a couple of weeks ago, but this whole thing for a long time, the McFred moniker has kind of fused their two careers together as though you can't have one without the other. When really, I think if we separate them, McTominay is better on the ball. He's a better passer. He isn't as good defensively. Fair enough, I admit that. But he's much better in front of goal. He's got a higher ceiling. He's still got years left to improve. He's physically more commanding. He's taller. He's better in the air. I think he's got a lot of things that Fred doesn't have. And if you were to replace one of those two in the team, for me it has to be Fred.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we've got more like for like swaps for McTominay than we do Fred. Like I said there, bring Pogba in. He's just a better McTominay. Yeah. But if you brought in a real top class number 6, I think McTominay and Bruno, maybe a number 8 as well to rotate. But I think McTominay is a very good squad player, and was very good against Burnley. Pretty good today in the second half. I think he can be good, but we just need that better player behind him. No offense to Fred, but it's been long enough to know he's not there, isn't it?
Exactly. Zachary Purvis said, we'll love to see a proper DM. However, I think McTominay in the 8 role next to Bruno will be class. However, Pogba in that role next to Bruno is scary. Steve Kilgraff, member of the, Kilgarif, sorry, said member of the Academy for 10 months, says, shh, it will be okay. Just don't tell them.
Just pretend it's all great.
Marshall said, how are people said Scott man of the match? He had an okay second half and a shite first half as per. I thought that's harsh. I don't think anyone was that great in the first half. No. I'll give you that one. I thought he was much better in the second half.
Definitely. I think any of the man of the match performances you give him for what they did in the second half, I would say.
Yeah. Andy Long says, Bellum. Sao Rao says, Bruno as captain looks great. Does Maguire come back into this team?
If we're playing 4-4-2, I don't know why he would. Because Lindelof and Varane are playing better than Maguire did in his last 10 games.
Yeah.
I don't think they're playing better than Maguire did last season.
Yeah.
I think you would take last year's Maguire or, the Euros Maguire next to Varane over Lindelof and Varane. Because even today, Lindelof was decent, but there was a couple of times when he gets out strength or he doesn't quite get his tackle in. But from what we're seeing at the minute, what we've seen this season, there's no reason to switch either of those two out for Maguire.
Abdullah Ibrahim says, Rashford scored 3 goals this season coming off the bench. Do you think he will be used as an impact player long term? Is Sancho's place under threat? What do you reckon of that? Because Marcus Rashford, he's had a little bit of stick. The Villa game at home, he was getting pelters from a lot of people, and probably his worst performance in a United shirt, to be honest with you. Hasn't quite got going this season. Obviously came back from this operation later on in the season, but he still feels like there's a question mark around Marcus Rashford this season, and it seems amazing to say that considering the numbers he's put up over the last 2 campaigns.
Yeah.
What do you reckon? Do you reckon he is an impact player? Do you reckon he's someone that needs to start when he's fully fit? What's your take on it?
To answer that question, long term, absolutely not an impact player. Short term, I could see it. It wouldn't surprise me and shock me or upset me if he started on the bench in the next game as well.
Yeah.
I think his attributes work very well as an impact player.
Yeah.
I think at his best he works even better as a starting player. But I think short term, you bring him on 30 minutes to go with his pace, his directness, his finishing ability. You've got someone there who can change any game. So I think maybe short term he goes as an impact player. But we've got to be 22 goals, 15 assists last season.
Yeah.
You don't try to phase that kind of player out of a team unless you really have to.
Especially at his age.
Yeah, come on, he's
this
24.
Isn't a 31-year-old where you go, okay, maybe he's in decline. This isn't Aubameyang or someone.
No.
If you're scoring, putting them numbers up and you're 24, you think, okay, this season, if you can build on that next season, he's a player who potentially, in a couple of seasons could get you to the 25, 30 goal mark.
Yeah. If he's getting you sort of 40 plus goals and assists a season, you've got one of the top players in the world there. And he wasn't that far off that. It wasn't that far off that last season.
Ragnick's just doing his interview now. If I get any quotes from that, I'll try and give him. I'll see what he's got to say. I'm guessing he is going to be asked about the Ronaldo incident because it's newsworthy in it, and let's face facts, anything involving Cristiano Ronaldo is always going to make the news, but especially when he's obviously had a bit of an issue there with his manager. So we'll see what he has to say about that. I think one thing you can say about Ralph Rangnick, he seems quite media savvy. He does seem to know how to handle things and what to say, but it's just a shame that it's this little distraction because it's not a great performance. It's a good result. It's a result we needed. We go into the West Ham game now with a bit of confidence, and if we get a result there, then we're right in that mix again, aren't we, for the top 4?
And it's quite embarrassing to have to say this because I'm really clutching at straws for positivity here. But if we can get 2 halves like the second half today, or 2 halves like the first half against Villa the other day, this is a team that can control games and win games comfortably. Obviously, that's easier said than done, but it's not as though we don't play prolonged periods of time where we're in control, where we're the better team, where we create chances and score goals. It's just making those periods, instead of being 30 minutes, they need to be 60, 70, 80, 90 minutes. But there's some optimism here, and like you said, a much needed result. You said before the game, for top 4, this was a huge game.
Yeah,
especially the way Tottenham won 2 goals in the last sort of minute of the game against Leicester. We needed to win this, and we have done, so that's good.
Brodemon says, could Garner get into the starting 11? I'm not sure. I don't know what rush him in, maybe.
And don't stick him in the team that's struggling either.
Thomas Frank has said, they are unbelievably lucky. I know all the crap about taking chances. They changed their system against Little Brentford. I mean,
we beat Little Brentford and all, mate. So
yeah, it does sound a little bit like
get an haircut, pal.
Sour grapes there, to be honest with you, from Thomas Frank. There,
and I like him, but it's a bit mardy arse that, innit?
They changed their system, and
we changed our system and beat you. So yes, we were a bit lucky. But come on.
Ragnick said, obviously we had to change a few things. The first half we weren't good in almost all aspects of the game. Sloppy passing, not strong enough in the 50-50 situations. We gave away almost every second ball. I mean, he's pretty much echoed what we were saying at our time there.
The amount of times he has to talk about second ball, and that is under 10s training, Jay. Yeah. Like, that shouldn't still be a case, should it? That's just effort and reading the game and awareness.
It's right. Also, Ragnick on Elanga said he followed up on his performance at Villa Park. He was outstanding in the second half. A lot of work against the ball and a goal. Give Ragnick credit for sticking or trying Elanga. Do you think that he deserves credit for that? Because it probably wouldn't have been, the obvious thing to do. The obvious thing to do is probably to pick a Rashford or to, I don't know, maybe...
Sancho even.
Sancho's not available
tonight, but against Villa.
So do you give Rangnick a bit of some props for that?
He's got to get some credit. If people are going to give him stick for the bad performances, you have to give him credit for the individual good performances as well to a certain extent. He's been good, Elanga. I think he's not done things where you go, oh my God, look at the talent on this kid.
Yeah.
But not everyone has to be that player. Not everyone has to be, can you believe it? He's blown my mind. Look at the skill. Look at the two-footedness. Look at this. Look at that. He's put in very good performances, very disciplined. Like Adam said before the game, he'll go up and he'll challenge their fullback. And then when they're attacking, he'll be backing up our fullback. And he does that more willingly and more convincingly than probably any of our other wingers. So you've got to give him a lot of credit for that. Well done to Rangnick for picking him and continuing to pick him. And I'm glad he's got a goal as well, because that just adds another level of safety and another level of protection against criticism when things aren't going so well. You can refer to this goal. You can, he turned it around in a game that was very difficult. So well done to both of them.
Anthony Jarvis says, Jay, what do you think were the obvious differences between this and a good performance under Ole? It's hard to see. I mean, that felt very similar to some of the performances we saw under Ole. Kicking on in the second half, seeing people like Bruno heavily involved in it, Marcus Rashford getting a goal. I think what we have to look at, though, is where we were coming from. Is now, like, we're coming off that, obviously, Ole got sacked for a reason, and it's just what sort of getting back to a consistent way of winning football matches, which we haven't quite done yet. Also, as well, it's worth noting, with the first side to win 300, I can't see some of that. Is it 300 Premier League away wins? Yeah.
Wow.
That for me is a real quiz.
That's stop the title there.
Yeah.
Because, yes, you might win most of these 38 games, Man City, but who's won 300 Premier League away games in the history of the competition? We have.
Exactly. Rangnick on Cristiano Ronaldo. He said, it's normal. Ronaldo is a striker and he wants to score goals. He's just come back from injury. We were 2-0 up, the same result as at Villa Park, and I wanted us to be more solid this time.
Yep.
I mean, that makes sense. For me, that's not a crazy notion. We gave the ball away far too often at Villa Park. We were too sort of, a lot of our players were just in the other half of the pitch when they shouldn't have been. So it made sense to do what he did, even though at the time you can think a bit like, okay, this is, it's obviously upset Ronnie, is it worth it? But it's been proven to be right, basically. We got the win. Randy also on David De Gea says, one of the best goalkeepers in the world right now, I'd say.
He's back to his best, isn't he?
Do you think he is? Do you think we're seeing David De Gea, 2017 levels of David De Gea?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Because what's he doing that isn't that? There was a couple of mistakes. The one against City, where he lets the goal in at the near post. Bernardo Silva lets the goal in at the near post. And the one against away in the Champions League.
Watford, I thought. But I always think that now he's like a clean slate for everyone. Yeah. And I think under Rangnick, he has been
spotless.
Back to...
But the thing with David De Gea is we know he's not great at crosses. We know his distribution's not great. And they've continued to be poor. But the thing that he was always brilliant at was his shot stopping, which is back to, he doesn't let anything in that you don't expect. He makes mistakes. He makes saves where you go, has he done that? And he hasn't made any mistakes. So, yeah, great.
Kiki Kikison says Elanga is level-headed and well-rounded. I agree. Yeah, he seems to have come into this team doing a good job, saying the right things. Just everything about him so far has been really positive. I'd love to see him, continue it really, because he's come into this team as well, not in an easy situation where we're desperate for wins. We're very erratic, very inconsistent. He's had a little bit of pressure put on him, and he's risen to the occasion, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's been good. And Mason Greenwood's worth mentioning as well, because he needed a goal. His performances have been okay, but not great. But a lot of criticism for being too selfish. This whole sort of him and Ronaldo, can they play together, thing's been hyped up, and sometimes some of it for good reason. There hasn't been an obvious partnership worked out there. But I'm glad he got his goal as well. And good, I think, obviously Bruno's just trying to do the thing that gets the goal. But Bruno is the type of player that knows we need to spread this out a little bit here.
Yeah.
Like, I think if it was another person or another day, Bruno might have stuck that in himself at the near post. Yeah. But Greenwood needs a goal. As a young lad, not really done it this season in front of goal. Brilliant for him as well.
LJ, who's been a member of the first team for 11 months, says, big thing for me is that De Gea seems a lot more vocal now as well. Does seem to be shouting a little bit more. Peter Kelly says, we look so much better without Wan-Bissaka, Maguire and Shaw in the team. Good to see Elanga, Mason and get a goal. Elanga, Mason and Marcus, get a goal. Fernandes, good again. Yeah, I feel like it's back-to-back good performances from Bruno Fernandes. Certainly effective performances as well, which is what we're used to with him.
And not to be just argumentative for the sake of it, but look at the stats on the screen there. And watching that first half back, Brentford were by far the better team in the first half.
Yeah.
And you can't really be saying... Well, you can say it. Obviously, it's up to you. It's your opinion. I would disagree with the fact that Shaw, Maguire and Wan-Bissaka not playing has changed that much. Because first off, we looked shaky. They had loads of chances. They should have scored. We were the worst team. So some of that, I think, is coincidence rather than, get them out and look how great we've been, because we were terrible in that first half.
We were. I'd stick with this team now.
No, I'm not saying change it.
Yeah, I would
but
stick
look
with
at
that
this,
back
they had
four
more
now.
shots on target. We didn't have a shot on target first half, and they had 6. De Gea having to make 2 one, very important save with his feet. They had another one that hit him in the
do
body.
you know what, as well? This is one advantage Ralph Rangnick's got over Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. It's very difficult when you're a manager and you've spent 150 million or whatever, 130 million on the likes of Wan-Bissaka and Maguire, to drop him. Rangnick doesn't owe him anything.
No.
If he thinks that we're better off with Varane and Lindelof as our centre-back partnership, and as Diogo Dalot at right-back, he can do that.
Yeah.
Clayton M says, who's been a member of the first team for 9 months, do you think we still lack fitness? I think we always look tired. I don't know, it seemed like in the second half, we were the one that kicked on and they were the ones that looked knackered.
Yeah.
Although the last 10 minutes was very, very edgy.
I think it's confidence and mentality as much as it is fitness. Because also, the difference between the top teams and the bottom teams is only something like 15%.
Yeah.
It's not like they run twice as much. So I think it's more awareness, how switched on we are, how much we're up for it. Because like you said, second half, you wouldn't have questioned fitness whatsoever.
No.
And yet first half, when they're more fit and more energy in the legs, they look like way off the pace. So I think it's a mental thing.
Yeah. Anyway, 3 points. That's what matters.
Yes.
Goals for Mason Greenwood, Anthony Elanga, and Marcus Rashford. A couple of assists for Bruno Fernandes as well. Happy days. Yes, we weren't great in the first half, but who cares? We were mint in the second
Needed
half.
a win.
Well, for most of the second half. That's what matters. Joe, where can people find you?
Joe Smith 93 on Twitter and Instagram.
If you're not doing, subscribe to the channel. Let's get to 700,000 subscribers by the end of the season. I've been Jay. That's been Joe. This has been the live review. Thanks for watching.